9, 11, and 13, the extensions that are above the 7. Let's take a look at some of the positions that we use for these chords on the guitar. Let's start with the dominant chord. For example, we have a G7. Now, very important if you really want to get into these chords that have extensions and alternate notes, that you learn your shells. You know, your shells are these shapes where you just have the root, the 7, and the 3rd, and then you can add the other notes. Usually they, leave you a free finger to do that. So if we have a G7 here, for example, and we say, well, G9, where's the 9th? The 9 is actually here. So in this position, if I play the 9th, I lose the 3rd. Well, not really, because I have an open string. So that would be a G9. If I have the root here, and I have a G major here, that will be my G7. That's my 9, because the 9th is what? The second up an octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Notice that even though I'm in a dominant chord, I use the major scale to count, just because that's what I think will be the easiest way for you to do it at the beginning, from the root of the chord. So that will be G9. This is a very common position for G9. And again, you have your G7 shell and then the 9th. Look, that's your octave. If you know your octave shapes, you can always find your 9 like that. Octave 9. Octave 9 or octave 9. So again, G9, G9, and G9. The 11 chords a lot of times is played like that, where, some people will say this is a G11. Sometimes people will call it a G9 sus4. We'll talk about sus later on, but this will be the sus4, the 4 that resolves into the 3rd or not. And in this voicing, we have G, the root, the flat 7, the 9th, and the 11. The same chord can be found here, for example. Now you do want to notice, if you've been practicing your triads, that that's an F major triad. So another way to describe this G9 sus4 or G11 would be to say this is an F triad slash G. When you see F slash G, it means you want to play this chord. And these are the two most common positions for that chord. Here's another one that's kind of cool for that, because you have your F triad here and your G note here. Now the 13. If I have this G7, my 13 is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? The 6 above the 7 is the note that we call the 13, and it's a natural extension. Why is it natural extension? Because we're talking about a G7, so what key are we in? C, not G, okay? That's your G13 right there. A lot of people play the G13 here in this position. I'll do it in C, so it's a little lower, watch. This is a C13. This chord has the root, the 3rd, the flat 7, the 9th, and that's the 13. A lot of times guitar players will play these chords without the root also. So you might play like just this part of the chord. Maybe, you're playing with the bass player, and the bass player is taking care of the root. Let's take a look at some other chords. If we have a minor chord, for example, let's take D minor 7. So we have D minor 7. Now let's add the 9th. Okay, so this is the 3rd. So the 9th is the 2nd. So the 9th is below the 3rd, right there. So if I have this shell for D minor 7, I have the root, the 3rd, the flat 3, the minor 3rd, of course, because it's a minor chord, the flat 7, because it's a minor 7, and then there's my 9th, D minor 9. Another common way of playing a minor 9 chords is if you take your bar chord like that. This is an A minor 7. your pinky is very conveniently located there to find your 9, so that will be your A minor 9. We were doing D before, so that's D minor 9 will be there. A lot of times also we don't really play the whole bottom part of the chord. You know, you can play, and that's already A minor 9. A minor 9, D minor 9. Now let's put the 11. A lot of times we will play this D minor 11 like this. Basically we have the root, the flat 7, the third, and the 11. Notice that a lot of times guitar players have to sacrifice one note, and it's usually going to be the 5th. Here's a nice position for that D minor 11. And now again with the root on 6, on the 6th string, it will be that, your shape. A minor 11, D minor 11, and then we have D minor 13. Now D minor 13 can be kind of tricky sometimes. If you start with a D minor 7, remember, if it says 13, it means it has a flat 7 and the 13. Whether you have the notes in between, the 11 and the 9th will be optional in most of the cases. So you have a D minor 7 here. If I put that note on top, that's a D minor 13. You could call this note the 6, but the thing is when the 6 particularly is above the flat 7, then we call it a 13. If I wanted it more like a D minor 6, it would be like that. Right? Where I have a 6 between the root and the chord. But again, when you're playing music, it doesn't really matter. You can play one or the other. They are both going to sound wonderful. If I'm using this position, for example, A minor, and I want the 13, my 13 is going to be right there. So I can go, or even I can find the 9 right here. You know, experiment with all these notes. Some of them, the chords are going to sound incomplete, so you want to experiment a lot and find the positions and the voicings that you like for whatever situation you're playing in. If you put that 13 note right here, then it's definitely a 6, and that's the minor 6 shape. And now let's take a look at the major chords. So we have C major, that's C major 7. Now here's another position for C major 7. So what if I want C major 9? Now remember, if it says major 9, M-A-J, mean that there is already a major 7, and then there's a 9. So I need to have this note, the major 7, and this note. So again, I'm gonna sacrifice that, because what happens is, if I take this note down from the E to the D, now I don't have the third. And the third is the one that gives me that major quality for the chord. So I don't want to lose that note. So I'm going to transfer that note here. And now I'm going to have the C, the E, the B, which is the major 7, and then my 9th right there. You can also do it like this. You can take C major 7, now your 9th is going to be right there. Not a very comfortable position, but you can use it. Also, when you look at the chords like that, when you're just trying to find how chords work, don't feel like you will always have to play the whole chord or hold the bar all the way, because the truth is that when you're actually playing, for example, in a band where you have a bass player that's taking care of the root, that actually frees your hand so that you can just play maybe the top part of the chord and let somebody else take care of that root. But if you want to hear the chord by yourself, you can do it like that. Now what about C major 13? Well, if I have the major 7 shape right there, see, I have this is a complete C major 7. The only thing that is missing is the 5th, but again, the 5th is the note that we will usually sacrifice. That's my 13. So that will be a C major 13. I can also do it like that. Right? Because I have the root, the 5th, the major 7, the 3rd, and the 13. try to find ways of adding these 9s, 11s, and 13s to all your chords, your major chords, your minor chords, and your dominant chords. Now remember, these are all extensions, so what you want to do is you want to take 3 chords that are in the same tonality. Say, for example, 2, 5, 1, and C. And you say, okay, first I have 2, 5, 1, that's just major chords. Then I can have minor 7, dominant 7 to major 7. Then I can have minor 9, dominant 9, major 7, or major 9. Then you can do any combinations you want. Minor 11, 13, major 9. Have fun with the extensions, and I'll see you in the next lesson.